Next type. Lemniscate is a figure 8. Lemniscate is a figure 8. There's not too much difference in these, okay? So the cosine one, it's going to be a figure 8. You might even want to think about it being two circles or an infinity sign, okay? And it's symmetric with respect to the x-axis. If you have a sine, it's going to be symmetric with respect to that line of 45 degrees. All right? I don't draw them really well, but you think about a bow tie, two circles, whatever. I say lemniscate is a figure 8. You cannot graph these on the calculator because of the r squared. Okay? So that one you need to memorize. All right. So cosine is going to be along the x-axis. You're going to take the square root of 25. And you're going to go out left and right 5. You're going to put a dot in the middle to the best of your ability. You're going to draw a figure 8. That's it. Okay. So let's see here. We have r squared is 16, so r is 4. Where's our 45 degrees? Right here. The pole, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all there is to it. So that does involve a bit of memorizing. Now we have rose curves. It's a bunch of, so think about a lemniscate but with a bunch of petals, okay, or a bunch of loops. So the length from pole to tip of each petal is the number A. The number of petals or loops, if n is even, then the curve has 2 n petals, and if n is odd, then it has n petals. Again, something you're going to need to memorize. Where do we place the first petal? Well, if you have cosine, that's really easy. The first petal will always be when theta is 0 degrees, because if you think about that, that first loop is going to be symmetric with respect to the x-axis, that cosine, okay? The spacing, or how far apart each petal, is found by dividing 360 degrees, because that's the whole circle, by the number of petals, which might be n if it's odd or 2n if it's even. So let's do some examples. So yes, you could do it on the calculator, but you're going to need to be able to answer some questions on the test. All right, so we know we have cosine. N is 5, so I know I have 5 petals. I'm going to take 360 and divide it by 5, and I'm going to get 72. So that would be how far apart each petal is. And they're going to be 4 big. So they start at 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be your first petal. The next one, so 0, then 72 degrees. And you're just going to approximate it. So about here. So you're going to go out 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to have another loop. Then you're going to add 72 degrees, about 144. So about right here. You're going to add 72 degrees, get 216. Well, I know that's 180, and this is 210, so a little bit bigger than 210. And then I'm going to add 72 again and get 288. Now that's 270. This is 300, so 288 somewhere between those. And there you go. And you can always check, if I added 72 again, I would get 360, which is the same as 0, and you would start over again. Not difficult. So let's do this one. This time, where it's going to be, the petals are going to be 5 long, but N is 4, which is even, so that's going to be 8 petals, a lot. So we take 360 and we divide it by 8. It's going to be 45 degrees. So remember, for cosine, always starts at 0. Okay, 45 is right here. Then, so we have 0, 45, add 45 is 90. Add 45. Add 45. Add 45. This is a lot of them. 45 again. And 45 again. And if I added 45 again, I'd get back to 360, and that kind of checks that. They probably shouldn't overlap that much, but that's the best I can draw it. If you have ever heard of the way back 1960s, 1970s apparatus that children used to play with, a spirograph, you kind of got figures like this. All right, so that's the cosine. That one's pretty easy. It's the sine. The first petal, how do we find out where it starts? It is not always 0. The first petal, because of sine is symmetric with respect to the y-axis, that may help you remember, we're going to take 90 degrees and divide it by n. That's where you begin. Okay, the spacing is still found by taking 360 degrees and divide by the number of petals. Okay. Oops, and I believe that should be sine. Right, so let's see. N is 5, so that's odd. So that means there's 5 petals. Okay, we know they're 4 big, but where do we start? We take 90 degrees and divide by 5. So the first petal is at 18 degrees. So we're going to call it about right there. We're going to go out 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what's the spacing? We're going to take 360 and divide by 5. That's still the number of petals. 72. Okay, so our first one was 18. Add 72, and we're going to get 90. Add 72. So let's see, this is about 150, so about right there. Okay, add 72. So let's see, that's 210, that's 240, so kind of about right there. And add 72 again. So a little bit bigger than 300. Again, you can see they're evenly spaced, right? And no, you can't always say, well, it just starts on 90. That would be incorrect. That would be wrong. Right? Let's do this one. N is 4. So that means I have 8 petals. Remember, if it's even, we have to double it. However, the beginning spot, 90 divided by N, how many times does 4 go into 90? Unfortunately, about 22.5 degrees. Okay, so not fun, but that's okay. So our first petal is at 22.5 degrees. And we're going to have 8 petals, so 360 divided by 8. So this is where you might want to get a calculator. We're going to add 45 to all of those. So 67.5 is that one, plus okay. Now that was a lot. There's 8 petals, but you can see that I don't hit 90 degrees, all right? But over here on this one, you can see that it's symmetric with respect to the y-axis, and so is this one going to be. All right, so we're going to start, where do we start? At 22.5. Well, where is that? Well, this is 30, so, you know, it's a little bit less. Okay, and so we're going to have 8 petals. So we have one at 22.5, the next at 67, so this is 60, so a little bit bigger. Okay, and then 112. 157. 202. 247, 292, and 337. So not the prettiest thing, but again, if you wanted to see it on the calculator, we could look at that. We could say 5 sine of 4 theta, zoom 0. You can see it's continuing to plot those points all in one sweeping manner as opposed to drawing each individual loop. Okay, I'm not looking for perfection. Again, it's supposed to be symmetric with respect to the y-axis. So you are going to be held responsible by finding, you have to tell me how many petals there are, you have to tell me the starting point, and you have to tell me the spacing. So yes, a little bit of memorizing.